Eventually, after being in Louis for about 5 years, I just went, well, we started Freetown the last few months I was in Louis. We got the opportunity to go to London, and it was either finish my last semester in Louis or go and perform in London. And I was like, yeah, wait, London, go on. And yeah, that was 14 years ago, and here we are today. After many things have happened, I will allow Mr. Lyons to explain his journey to Freetown.
No reason.
He know rich, but he got me in one.
Wow.
At my shoot time, I know what
Good evening, everybody. I'm not a criminal. I'm no longer affiliated with crime. I don't know anything about the shooting.
Man said no longer.
Well, I used to be an attorney, but I was back then. So, I don't know why I wanted to be. I just know that my life involved music at some point. I grew up into Tobago, so the dreams of being a musician was really a dream. So to be able to be a comfortable with it, I'm a working class artist. You know? And
That sounds very cool.
no, it's realistic. It's realistic. So now to be a working class artist is a dream come true. My stepping stone into that was playing in church as where I picked up an instrument first. Abandoning that. Trying to get into media because I said, you know what? I'll tell the truth. Expose corruption. And you know what my media professor said? He said, yeah, they will kill you. I said, okay, you have any ideas? He said, all right, well, I think you might do well at law. You know, pick this elective, and if you like it, you know, you could move on from this degree and pick up law, which I did. I think in transitioning from one degree to the next, I met Muhammad at a spoken word event. And so yeah, I looked like a band. And I introduced myself after the show, and we kept in contact. Now he disappeared. Yeah, he disappeared and came back on the scene. At that time, he was doing an event in UB called UB Speak. And I said, oh, I see looking like a real man. So I walked up to him again, and I said, hey, is there anyone who could be a part of this? And I picked up, well, I had always been writing, so I converted some songs into spoken word. I realized, okay, that could work too. And
I know where you said that before.
yeah,
Alright.
I wanted to rap.
Fast.
And yeah, that very weird trip to London, it changed everybody's lives who was on that trip. I was in my final year of law, and I remember it was about 2 days before coming back. Muhammad and I was on the bank of the Thames, and I said, I don't know what I'm going back home to do. And he said, me neither. And we kind of made a promise that whatever we were going back home to do, we would give what we were working on a chance. We didn't know what it was at the time, what it would turn out to be. But coming back home, I tried to juggle law and music for as long as I could have. But art is selfish. You take what it wants and more. And here I am, no longer a practicing attorney, no longer a reporter who they will kill. I'm just an artist.
You don't kill us as musicians. So, Lou and I went along doing one thing for approximately like 4 years. And then we had this opportunity from Exos having his first performance outside of Trinidad, outside of Jamaica. And it was in Trinidad, and we got a chance to perform alongside Comics. But in doing so, we wanted to have more than just the two of us on stage, so we expanded the band. We got a whole quartet, bass, drums, all kind of thing, but we included 3 background harmonies, 3 supporting harmonies, 2 of which are here today. So Malini and Tishan
Freetown Trinity is actually my sister. So I'm kind of telling her story too. How did I get into this? Right. So I had been studying abroad. My first degree is English literature from main campus. And then I got a job, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. And then I actually worked at what would be the Trinidad and Tobago Entertainment Companies, now Music TT and all of that. And there I saw something that made me think about what I wanted to do, what I thought I wanted to do. I've grown up performing, my parents are musicians, they met in a band. I'm one of four, and two of them teach music, including Shami, who's not here. But I knew that I didn't want to teach art or music, so I was like, okay, let me do literature, that's safe. I could do anything after that. Ended up in the entertainment company after being in performing arts groups and stuff, and realized that there's a disconnect between the creative and the artist, and those making the decisions about policy and money and national interests around culture and creative industries in Trinidad and Tobago and the region. So I was like, okay, how could I maybe fill this space? So I went and I did a master's degree in creative and media enterprises, arts admin, doing the in-between conversations. And so I am not a full-time creative practitioner. I am still doing that balancing act, which is sometimes okay and sometimes not. So by day I'm an arts administrator in charge of the Caribbean project, and all the other times I'm pretty much attached to Freetown as a backup vocalist. How I ended up in that is I came back from that master's, went to a show. I went to Point Fortin, actually. Freetown, which at the time would have been Luan Muhammad and I think the Quartet. They were having a show, they were an opening act for another artist who was like, that was the person. I would go anywhere. If you're in Tobago, I fly to Tobago to hear whatever. Collis Durante, right? Collis Durante, right? You see him Thursday, you see him Friday, he's singing the same set, you're going. So they were opening for Collis's show, and I went to Point Fortin from Lil Martin, right? Then the guy who was managing the group at the time remembered I used to sing in school, and he said, let me take your number, you're still singing? Had no clue he was going to call me and ask if I wanted to be part of a band. He didn't say Freetown, Alana to anything. The other girl that was supposed to come as well never showed up to the rehearsals, different things. So it was me by my lonesome. And then I think somebody asked, do you know another singer? Enter my sister. And I was like, I don't know. We different. She might say yes, she might say no. And we're both still here 11 years later. Hey, what's it? Yeah.
Tish.
Hello. Hi. I'm Tish. I'll sit. Right? So I started in biochemistry, biotechnology, of course in that side, so that is the first thing. So I did Chem Phys Bio straight through secondary A levels to here. And then in about my second year, I was just sitting down with some friends outside that side, and I just got this idea like, I'm bored, and I think I want to do something else. And then I was like, why not do theater? I was like, all right, cool. And then I got up and I started walking out. You know, the long, when you're walking out past the pool, everything. I was just walking along there, just stopping people saying, hi, is your theater department? Because science don't know what goes on anywhere else, right? We go into the lab at about 1 o'clock, we come out the lab about 7, there are no windows, because a lot of the things have to be controlled, so you don't get to see when day becomes night and these kind of things when you're doing this kind of work. So I had no idea if it was a theater department or if it was anything. And eventually I think I met a girl and she said, I think it's somewhere out there. And then I walked to Augustine Street, and I walked in and then nobody was around, so I was just wandering. And then I walked upstairs and knocked on a door, and Louis McWilliams was inside, and I went and I sat down and I said, I'm not too sure why I'm here, but I feel like if I want to act, and I feel like if I don't act, it's like if I don't live. And Louis looked at me and said, well, okay.
Well, that's true.
Well, I'm a dramatic why. So I went in and I started here. And at first they were not allowing me to cross over whatsoever. But I'm the kind of person that, and this is actually a Freetown story, I'm the kind of person where the worst thing to tell me to do is not that, the worst thing to tell me is that I cannot do something. And there is a way that I realize how my life works, so if I really want it, everything will move out of the way for me to get it. I do not have to worry, right? And that comes from this. So even though for many years they fought me down totally, I just did what I wanted to do inside of the system. And I ended up with a theater degree, well registered in that side, which made me unable to graduate. Yeah, because they told me, no, I just did what I wanted to do, and then I said, well, you're going to have to get me out of here somehow. So that is how I ended up coming out with a theater degree. Straight out of that, I started working in dancehall and dancehall entertainment very heavily, so I was writing for magazines in the US and the UK, on the Alkalines and the Chronics, Cartels, that kind of thing. That was most of what I was doing at that point. And around that time was when Chronics had started to come up. Yeah, he wasn't, as Muhammad had also said, there's a way that to bust international, they will bring it to Trinidad first. We literally are one of the most powerful sounding grounds in terms of what works and what does not, right? So he was coming, I'd never seen him perform, and around that time I saw that Muhammad didn't even tell me, because we've been friends forever, like probably since teens, right? And I was by him a day and he was dropping me back down the road, and I went, I see you performing, opening for Chronics. And he says, yeah. And I said, I really want to see Chronics perform. And he said, all right. And I said, yeah, so I'm in the band. And he goes, no, we have people. We have 3 girls already. You know, no.
Because it's supposed to be true.
Wait. So yeah, so that's how been by you understand why I started this story with how I moved from science into this and things just moving all the way, right? He said they had 3 people. And I remember it was a night and I said, all right, cool. When is rehearsal? And he says, well, we're meeting my kid. Kid was doing the thing. That was when kid was with sizzle and all these things. He's like, well, we're meeting there. I was like, all right, I'm going to see what rehearsal. He's like, Joshana, I already have our girls coming. We have the 3. We don't need nobody else. All right, cool. I see a rehearsal. I need to see Chronics perform, right? It has to happen. And as God and all associated OBs would have it, I showed up. I showed up, right? And yeah, God and all associated OBs. I showed up, and Melania and Shauna were there, and I sat and I was waiting, and the girl never showed up, and I just sat, and the girl still didn't show up. And I mean, about 20 minutes into her not showing up, I just went and stood by the mic, and I started harmonizing to everything they were doing, and I got in the show. And then afterwards, there was a second show that they were doing, because they didn't call us back. Right? And there was another show that was advertised they were doing in Martins, and I saw it, and I think I called Muhammad. And I was like, so I see you're doing another, no, I called Melanie. I said, you see you're doing another show? She said, yeah. I said, I feel we should sing in my show now. She said, I don't think so. I said, hold on. So I called Mud. I said, Mud, we singing in this show. When it's rehearsal, and that is actually, so after that show, it was in Martins. They didn't even have mics and stuff for us. We didn't care, we in the show.
Yeah, I think we shared.
We shared one mic, we in the show. And then after that, they just kind of stopped. After that. And I got to see Chronics, and it was spectacular. Everything I went
11 years.
Yeah. And we're still here.
Yeah. So from there to now, we've traveled a lot. We've been to Edinburgh, we've been to, where are we going by? Oh, St. Lucia. London, Rotterdam. We've been all over the place. We've opened for Damian Mali. We have some with Marshall, Bungie, Patrice. We do a lot of things since then, right? We have a song with Major Lazer that we have a song with Major Lazer that has been doing really well for the years and stuff like that. We did a lot of things since then. Going from having no idea what we were doing or how we were going to do it, where it was going to take us or where it wasn't going to take us to being where we are now. In 2020, we had a song called Feel Love that came on the scene, and a lot of Trinidadians opened up their eyes to the fact that we exist. Oh shit.
No, you have no notes. You have notes.
sorry, listen, this is not my review. I'm like, this is Jim and Remy. We did an album called Born in Darkness, and the album, I was very worried because we are acoustic, right? It's him and guitar and his two voices. The album was very unproduced. I was real worried. I was like, "Yo, how are we gonna perform this album? Like the album have all these different elements. We can't like we're gonna hire a band. What are we gonna do?" And then he was like, "Go study, just write this." You know, we finished the album, and we engaged rockers. And J-Rod came on. And I'll let J-Rod tell his story.
Good afternoon, everybody. That's all. That lovely introduction. We engage Rockers and we get J-Ron. That's probably very confusing. So my name is J-Ron Remy. My sobriquet is Rockers, which I got in school. So I've always been interested in music. There's been nothing else. I had no chemistry or maths or law or nothing else. There was nothing else. It was always music. My cousin was a DJ on a station they used to have, that you'll probably never heard, called 98.9. And he used to DJ there, and he would take me with him when he would weekend sometimes. And I was absolutely obsessed with it. So I would sneak in his house when he came home and play with his turntables. And like, I learned to DJ. And then my father told me if I wanted to take it seriously, I would have to go to school. So he sent me to a DJ school, which was also a broadcasting school. And I got a kind of basic concept and idea as to how this media DJ world does work. And after that, I kind of became a professional DJ that wasn't really getting paid very much, so I would go around with my cousin wherever he going. And then some fellows in school, we started a DJ group. And we were, in our time, our year, but our time period in school, we had people like Zygon and Private Ryan. About Detrimental was the name we were called, and he was a DJ in Detrimental. And a whole bunch of other people who are probably now more popular on the scene. Jules would have been in school a little bit, yeah. And people like that. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of us that come out of school and kind of was in and around the entertainment scene. And then 98.9 closed down. I finished Form 6, and I was like, what's going to happen now? And I didn't know what was going to happen now because I had no idea. And O'Brien Haynes opened Boom Champions and did not call me for a job. And I got really mad. And my father said, well, if you want to take this thing seriously, find a way to study it more. So I went and looked up degrees, and there were none that I was interested in this beautiful place. So I found a degree in the New England Institute of Art for audio production and sound engineering. And in my head and in my father's head, it was, if you're gonna do this, you should figure out how it does work. So I learned everything from the vocal sound that comes out of your mouth that ends up on the radio, the end product of it, like how to go through that whole process. Whether it's live on stage or in a studio recording or whatever the case is. I learned about sound for TV, I learned about sound for movies, I learned about everything to do with sound in that degree. And when I came back home, I got a job at Boom Champions doing production and sound engineering. And I spent about 5 or 6 years there doing programming the sound of the station. So I can't begin to talk about examples because for like 5 years, everything that you did that sounded like a stinger or an ad or whatever is either me or Gonzo that produced it because there was only 2 of us in the whole department. And along the way, well, when I was working for Champions, we had a very strong mandate to support local. So we did that whole reggae roadblock like that when the reggae movement that I sanctioned on that came out, it was because we decided we were going to push that. And we did it actively. When we decided we was going to link up with Chromatics and them and push the rap stuff, like we did that intentionally. So there was a year when they had a whole bunch of hip-hop rhythms, when you had producing rhythms, and we would intentionally push it because the whole thing does work together. If you make music and they have nowhere for you to play it, then what's the point? I mean, now we have streaming and all that good stuff, but back then, there wasn't so much streaming. That Napster, LimeWire, and that thing, but, you know. It's on Steven, yeah. And then when I was looking for Champions, well, since I was in school, I did I did a show in school called Contagious, where I worked with Wendell Manor from Freetown. And after I left school and I go to Champions and all that stuff, I like back up at Wendell and you had the Freetown show, and he invited me and wanted to be a part of the show. And we were the DJs in the show. which was like a part of the show, and it turned out to me being the DJ for the show all the time. And then I eventually became the DJ in their band. And I think I still am, for the most part. But then along the way, I think it was like 2016-ish. I mean, I knew Freetown Collective because it's Freetown Collective, right? So they had, I think, well, I mean, I know of Mohammed from, well, school, firstly, we went to the same school. But then we would have been around the scene when he was doing all the spoken word stuff and working with colors and that kind of stuff. I knew him from around, and I saw the evolution of the band and the growth of the band along the way. And I was just always a keen observer. I'd be really honest and say they were my favorite band because that constant acoustic thing used to piss me off. And I'm like, well, everything sounded like the same song because it's all just guitar and singing. And I was like, it was nice the first couple of minutes of it, but I don't want to hear all of it. No offense. But when they called me to listen to the Born in Darkness album, I was like, oh shit, this is what y'all needed. Like, this is what we're doing. And they had an event that they were booked for called the Borders Festival, which never happened. But we rehearsed, this was the premiere of this new sound of Freetown. So we did a bag of rehearsals and we had this set that was tight, it was big, it was sexy, it was gonna blow everybody's mind. And then the festival got cancelled. And we was like, well, what are we gonna do with all this rehearsal that we rehearse? And I was like, well, we do our own show. And they was like, what do you mean? We do our own show. Like, alright, then we do our own show. So we put together a show at the Big Black Box, and we ran for 2 nights that first time. And we sold out the show, we sold out the show for 2 nights. And I think that recording is still up on YouTube actually. Yeah, and that was the first time that we premiered that sound of the band. And I guess it worked, people liked it, and I'm still here. It doesn't matter what
It matters, I'm following this.
I am following this. Carry on smartly.
Listen, they have me down there, but like I don't like following the structure.
You don't along, right?
There's a structure to this lecture because I wouldn't remember anything.
I'll be like them talking about flowers.
I don't know what I mean, but fine.
That might be actually a good opening for I think we're going now.
Flowers.
No, we know exactly.
So I would invite Lou to talk about the creative process. Talk more about our creative process.
Our creative process. I'm only now appreciating that creative process is a thing. You know, when we just started creating, in our minds it wasn't clear that there was a process to this. We like doing it. So when we just started, when we came back from that first trip to London, Muhammad and I made a promise to each other. Because we saw the effect that the music had on the West Indian community in London. And that's what changed us, right? It wasn't just a trip. It was being able to perform and meeting these people who were from Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, would have been living in London for many years. And coming up to us after the performance saying, you all need to keep doing this. You all need to make more music like this. We absolutely need it. But we knew that we were just leaving spoken word and having an intention to make music but didn't know how. So when we came back, Muhammad and I promised each other that he will take the next 6 months and work on his voice and discover his ability to sing, and I will take the next 6 months and teach myself to play the guitar. Because I wasn't good. I was shitty, right? And when I say this, some people can't really process it, right? But there were days when I had the time, I will rehearse for 14 hours a day. Nobody told us that it made sense to start on nylon string. Right? So when I'm done, you would see all in looking like I am flicking Q-tex on my fingers because blood was coming up through the fingernails from practicing 14 hours a day. Creative process?
Creative process.
You know what? Hear this joke, right? You all heard the name Wendell Man Warren and
Yeah, but
Music End? Was Music
Yeah,
End?
TNT.
TNT, right? So we had a workshop, right? We had a workshop where they were calling up and coming talents to sit down
While I was
with.
working there,
While she was
I didn't think I was ever going to be part of this.
they would call up and coming acts to be coached and to learn how to sing properly and project their voice something. Around that time, Muhammad and I were notorious for just practicing anywhere. I mean, we practice in botanical gardens, we practice in promenade, Woodford Square, anywhere we could post up with guitars, we practice in Coco. So we went through the process, and the night before the showcase, Wendell Man Warren is talking to everybody the night of the showcase. So you all will come, you all will relax all yourself, you all will go in the green room, and not be playing guitars like some people inside here. I've seen all you under trees in the savannah, there'll be none of that. And me and Mom said, oh, this man can be out, there's only we that be playing guitar all over the place. So. But that was the creative process. The creative process is, one, we weren't formally trained. So we knew that practice would have been the only way. And two, we knew that we didn't have the privilege of saying no to opportunities. The amount of performances we did in the first 3 years of trying to figure this out, we performed hundreds of times. Most of them for free. I tell you this partner skin you, because we had no way to perform. One of the funniest performances we had was somebody was launching a brand of soap. And I thought, hey, there 2 guys who be playing on their trees and things. So I would say it moved from just really being prolific, doing it every spare hour that we had, every spare minute, to now sitting down and realizing, okay, well, what does the audience want from us? What does the market want from us? We have to invest in better guitars, we have to invest in some formal understanding of songwriting. What is the structure? Rockers is always complaining when we perform some of the older songs because you have a verse with 30 bars, a 2-bar chorus. It was all over the place, right? So it moved from doing it so much until it felt second nature to us, to then now stepping back and looking at what we had and saying, okay, how to make sense of this. And I think the creative process now is a bit more sophisticated. Now we exactly know targets that we want to hit. We know music territories that we want streaming in. We know that we want a certain response for carnival time. You know, we want an album placed here, film placements here and there, and we kind of just try to make targeted decisions on how to create that.
One of the things in the early first too was, you know, the music that we do, we felt and we knew no promoters or anybody was really gonna hire us. Like even now, soca promoters are interested in what we don't have to do in a certain way. Our music is not that alone. You know, and I can get into that later on as to how I feel about how soca dominates the place and how I personally feel as though we as a people are not allowed in a way to express certain things on a certain level. Because if you're sad and you want to listen to some sad music to cry, you can't come to soca. If you're going through some things, you know, I mean, unless you want to change your mood and be happy, right?
That's not true, Mom. Stick to the notes. You can sing sad soca, it just don't get popular.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay. I thought you mean you can't do it with the music.
Of course you can do it. We've done it. But
That's like
on a certain level, you know, it's not what becomes popular. The place doesn't want it. You know what I mean? We really disagree in this man. It's a call it, you know.
Well, that's part of the creative process.
That's part of the creative process.
No, I mean, I want to, I feel like.
Go ahead.
So,
Say it with your chest.
you talk about the creative process, right? But when we entered, the free gigs wasn't it, right? Like we did some of the free gigs, but at some point we were like, Right. So the question I asked Mohammed was, how do you take bookings for this creative work? Oh, they call my phone. I said, so when they call your phone and don't get you, what's happened? So then I said, let's figure this out. We said, let's figure this out. Because we looking, right?
But you had to, you helped me marketing.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, all right, we'll make some money because I tell people you can make money off the thing. And I forgot too that there was nothing. There was your phone. There wasn't a bank account. There wasn't. It was cash payments. And I was like,
Which didn't really cut it.
yeah, no. Anyway, so the evolution alongside the creative, as the creative expands, I think that's the story I want to say. As the creative expanded and the needs expanded, the formality and the structure had to build, and voluntarily, some of that came in play. And then by the time the new guitar was bought, even saving to buy that new guitar, we literally was like, all right, we're gonna shave off $200 from this $4,000 check. Like it was, and I had spreadsheets with signed receipts. Bought that guitar, and then it started to just expand. I think that's post Edinburgh Festival.
Yeah.
And the first thing I had said was, okay, we actually, Mohammed and Luke, you all need like real management, not in team. Let's just get in on wheelie, right? And more things and more needs. And so I was sticking that into the conversation that there were also a lot of challenges in terms of navigating that growth. And I mean, we came and we never left, right? That was never really the vision either. You add in Chiron, you add in touring, you add in, so it comes with those challenges too. It's all not cute. And even the creative, the studio recordings and production is one line of creative, and then the live arrangements is where you'll find more of our input and guided by the movement. When we're talking about that, like people actually live versus.
So when you listen to, but how many of you all have ever been to a Freetown collective concert? Nobody? We have one. There's two. There's one, right? So yes, people know that Muhammad has a very distinctive voice and a very distinctive style of songwriting. I have a very distinctive way of harmonizing with his voice and playing the guitar, which was the immediate attraction when we first started. But now there's a large attraction to how the Trinity harmonizes with all of the songs. And there are a lot of bands with supporting vocals. So it's not just having harmonies, it's how the harmonies are layered, the playfulness of the harmonies, the onstage dynamics between the singers, and between the singers and Muhammad. It's all a conversation. And what people experience in the live song and seeing us on stage actually has roots in the band. How we deal with conflict with each other, how we decide how we listen to the song to decide what the song means. And we have disagreements there where Tishana might say, nah, I'm not really feeling that because if you listen to the song, you jump in the song sing, and then we say, yeah, that makes sense. And Walkers might say, well, what we doing in that way, we could do it this way. So each segment of the band brings some creative real estate to different parts of the process. And I think it is most evident if and when you come to a Freetown show.
February 22.